Welcome to this edition of At the Mic. I'm your host, Keith Malinak. In a world where almost everybody has a podcast, I want to thank you for making time to squeeze this one into your busy day. I sincerely appreciate being a part of your weekly routine, and I hope that you'll share at themicshow.com, that website link. Please share that with your friends and your family, anybody that you think might want to hear just regular good old conversation in a podcast that's easy to listen to in mixed company. So thank you for doing that. It would really help us out. At themicshow.com. Well, my conversation with my high school buddy, Rick Goins, who I've known for nearly 30 years now, that's coming up here. But first, let's talk coffee. American Pride Roasters coffee, to be exact. How I love Dave Matthews and his Iowa-based team. They make the smoothest, most flavorful coffees available. APRcoffee.com. This month, they are featuring the Thomas Jefferson blend over at APR Coffee. It's so good with its medium roasted blend of South American beans, that hint of vanilla. Oh my goodness, it's just as unique as the man, quite frankly, Thomas Jefferson. A side note, the letters between Jefferson and John Adams near the end of their lives, you must check them out. They are truly some of the most profound and inspirational letters ever written between two great Americans. I hope that you'll make time and read them for yourself. The Jefferson Adam letters are sensational. Please do if you get a chance. And speaking of memorable, I mean, how about the Jefferson blend over at APR Coffee? APRcoffee.com. Be sure to use offer code ATM. Stands for At the Mic. It's going to get you 10% off. Look for that special instructions section when you go to checkout at APRcoffee.com. Offer code ATM.
You're listening to At the Mic with Keith, an independent podcast production.
Rick Goins is my guest this week on At the Mic. Rick and I became friends during our high school days and experienced a lot of life together during those years. He tells us the story of being a Southern boy turned Hollywood actor via New York City, his humorous stories of a well-lived life, and he details the heartache in losing a loved one to suicide. He's my buddy, Rick Goins. He's this week's guest on At the Mic. I don't know. I want to say Roderick, Rick, or Ricky Goins. I don't know. Which one am I going with?
Let's go with Ricky. Why not? Because that's how you know me.
That's how I know.
Yes, I go by all three.
Okay. So Ricky and I knew each other through Roswell Street Baptist Church because we went to different schools growing up.
Yes.
So, and Roswell Street is the kind of church that, I mean, it's a mega church, let's be honest. Right. And so there's
the mega churches before mega churches really existed.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like the landmark in the center of Cobb County, Georgia, there in Metro Atlanta. So I went to Walton High School on one side of the county. You went to, did you go to McEachern for a year?
No, I actually, it's all messed up because, yes, my sisters graduated from McEachern.
You went to Harrison.
I went to Marietta my first year, freshman
right.
year, and then they opened up Harrison as a relief of Marietta and McEachern.
Yeah.
So I was actually one of the first graduating classes of Harrison.
Very cool. Also cool is that, and you're not the first person with this claim to fame, you were the mascot.
Yeah, I was.
You were the Hoya. You were the Harrison Hoya out there.
That's right.
That's cool. And that's the thing about Roswell Street is that we had multiple high school mascots there too. Didn't Mark Miller? He was the Pope Greyhound.
Yes, that's right. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Yes.
That's funny. Yeah. How fun was it being the mascot? Or was it frustrating not being able to talk?
Well, no, it was a lot of fun. I think the irony is that, I joined to get closer to the cheerleaders and instead just got a bunch of great close friends, But it was a lot of fun. And I ended up doing some costume work before for like birthday parties and stuff. I was like, the generic purple dinosaur.
Oh no! Did you have to do the dance and the maneuvers and stuff?
I did that, yes, for a couple birthday parties. Yeah, because they're like just some
was that
parents.
Fun?
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was yeah. I had a
Okay.
good time. Yeah.
So that's what I was going to ask you, and I think you already answered the question there. Did you want to get into acting, which we will explore here, because of being the mascot, or is this something you liked beforehand?
It was beforehand. My sisters were into acting, particularly my oldest one. And so in Leanne, my oldest sister is 10 years older than I am.
Okay.
So she was into theater. And when they would do shows, either high school shows or community shows, if they needed a little kid, you know, Leanne's little brother was the one who got called in for it. And then Roswell Street, you know, did a lot of production stuff like that. So that's what kind of got me into it.
Okay. You just mentioned you have an older sister who's 10 years older than you. You have another sister, Amy, who I know, and she's 8 years older than you.
Correct.
What are they doing these days?
Well, Leanne, my oldest one, she is living in Warner Robins. She's one of these life coach, voiceover artist, reads books, read audiobooks, and does a couple of other things. And yeah, she's secondly newly married, I guess.
Secondly newly. Nice.
And
we invent words and phrases on this podcast all the time. Most of them are from me, but I like that secondly newly.
Well, it's a great word because all of a sudden I made it up just now, and we all know what I was talking about.
Yeah,
you know?
That's right. So. This is timestamped, so don't be stealing this without giving Ricky credit. Okay.
And then Amy has her business partner, Kim Gravel. They have a clothing line that's on QVC.
Wow.
And they were actually music artists for a while. And and that just, you know, that honestly just ran its course. I mean, they both, decided that they got everything they wanted to out of it. And so they went a different route and started doing the merchandising, and they're doing really well with
Nice.
it.
Very
Yes,
cool.
yeah.
Okay, so take us to your childhood, growing up, your earliest memory, you were watching Scooby-Doo. No, there's more to it than that. Sorry. No, I just remember watching
which
TV.
one? It was Scooby-Doo.
yeah.
Yeah. For what, if it's what you're talking about, I think.
Yeah, your dad came home with a gift.
Yes, yeah. I remember my dad came home with a kitten one day for me, and I guess he, it was probably somebody at work was giving, I'm sure that their cat just had kittens, and they're like, "You want one?" And he was like, "Yeah, I guess." And so yeah, I do remember I had Mickey was his name. I named him that after the mouse, but because I had a Mickey Mouse lamp. And now I was little. This is like one of my earliest memories. I'm talking 5 or 6. And so Mickey was my cat, and I had him till freshman year in college.
Wow.
So this had to be like one of the oldest cats ever.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
I remember Mickey. Mickey was a friendly fella.
Yes.
And I just remember sitting on your couch quite, a number of times, and let's see if I can impersonate Mickey when I knew him.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
That's
like
pretty
that?
good. Yeah, that was
cool.
Brought back memories, man.
Well, see, that also sounds like a cat I had for 17 and a half years, Gert. So it's the same voice
Yes.
for both creatures, just to let you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so because I got Gert when Gert and Zoe were sisters. Mm-hmm. They were born March of '97.
Oh wow!
So I had them for the last year or so of my college experience. And Gert actually moved so she was born in Norfolk, Nebraska, and then lived in Lincoln. And then from Lincoln, we went to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Atlanta to Houston.
Yep.
Houston to Omaha, Charleston, New York, New Jersey, and then to Dallas. And Gert was a part of all of those moves.
Wow.
and knew all 3 kids.
That's
and
awesome.
I had her before I was married. So anyway, it's just cool,
cool.
how pets are such a big part of our lives for so long. But yeah, Mickey was very friendly, and it was always fun coming over to your house. Your mom was just so awesome, just the most kind person.
Oh,
and seriously, come into your house. I can see, that's just it. I can hear the sounds at your house. I can hear Mickey, and I can hear your mom greeting us when we'd come over. Just such a shining light when we would come over and visit you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, she loved you. She loved all my friends, but she definitely you seem to be the one who had its head on his shoulder. So she
Whoa!
loved you the
Wait a minute. What does that say for your friends? Who are you running around with, man?
yeah. She believed if I was with you, I wasn't going to get in trouble.
Oh, wait.
I didn't say that we were. I
Now
just
I
said
feel
she
like the
believed that.
Eddie Haskell to
No.
beaver.
You were the no. Eddie was well, we know who Eddie was.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is she thinks I'm this like saint.
No, yes. She
Oh.
thought you were awesome
I hate to disappoint
and
her.
great, and actually one of my memories with you, I guess you brought Carrie to Georgia to show her your childhood, or of course meet Nana. I want to say I was living in New York.
Yeah,
at the
you
time.
were not in town, but I actually, and this speaks to just how much I appreciated and loved your mom, is I took Carrie over there to meet her.
Yeah.
It's almost like, here's my other mom. You
Yeah.
know? And so,
Yeah,
it's
It was very cool.
she was a treasure. Yes.
Yeah.
I knew you through Roswell Street.
Yeah.
But we didn't really know each other, I guess, really early. It wasn't until high school, right?
I want to say that.
And almost like senior year of high school, really, because I moved to Scottsbluff, Nebraska for the back half of my junior year. And I didn't really know you until I came back.
Yeah. But I will say, and maybe it's just a testament of when you're kind of growing up in that environment. I do feel like that the bonds didn't come together until like once we were on our own, when we were driving and we could go to, because there's so many of us that, that grew up at Roswell Street, but my memories of everybody of really becoming strong friends and creating those bonds was once we were on our own.
Yeah, had some freedom.
Yeah.
And talking on the CB radio.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Oh my gosh.
I mean, that was good times. We go camping,
Yeah.
which I won't even consider now. You guys did all the work, I'd like to point out. I was just kind of there to supervise.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
I was the guy who brought
you were the responsible one that my mom knew
Sure.
that wouldn't get us in
The
trouble.
responsible one who said, "Is this campsite going to have an electrical outlet? Because I want to take a little TV, watch some Braves."
all the way down to South Georgia. Really?
Well, that was South Georgia. I was thinking more like Lake Altoona.
Oh yes, yeah.
But
yeah.
South Georgia, getting stuck in a
Yeah.
rice field.
Yeah.
I don't know why I told you not to. I let your mom down.
You did.
I didn't keep
did.
you out of this rye field. Is what
Yeah,
it was.
yeah, rye field.
And it had just rained. I'm like, you drive a Ford Escort. What are you doing?
I know. Yeah.
That was a
Yes.
Ford Escort, right?
I want to say it was. Yeah.
This isn't going to end well.
yeah.
And
it did not.
We needed to get towed out of that thing. Boy, that was something
and
else.
we used a tractor to pull it out and almost rip the front of my car off.
I tell you, dude.
Yeah.
But you drive a truck now.
I do.
Which
Yes.
is smart in case you
Yes,
see
yeah.
any road
And-
rye fields you want to traverse into.
Yeah, and I love that truck. I really do. So
I miss my truck.
Yeah.
I really do.
I never thought I'd be a kind of truck person, but I absolutely love it. And I love when people are like, "Hey, I need help moving something." I love the fact that, hey, I have a vehicle that can do that for you.
Wow, you are sick.
I'm not going to help you load it, but I'll
Right.
be glad to bring my truck over. And I'm not one of these people I think scratches and dings. I hate to say this, adds character.
Oh.
So I don't care. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a pickup truck. Go for it.
Yeah.
I don't mind if you scratch up the bed. Just go ahead, throw it in there.
And see, I was like that too when I had a truck. I didn't mind scratches and dings, but I would go out and seek them on my own. I would find strangers in their own vehicles, and I would crash into them and then not get the vehicle repaired. I went out of my way to get my own scratches and dents back when I had a truck. You've been married to Michelle for 14 years.
Yes.
Where did you guys meet?
We actually met on Yahoo. So
Wait a minute.
this is a great story.
Yeah, I can't wait for this.
So we actually met, through Yahoo Personals. Both of us.
Oh, okay.
Were
It wasn't some
lonely-
random
no.
search engine like, I need a woman. Oh, look, Michelle's available. Okay, I didn't know they had a personals thing.
Yeah, they did. I guess it predated eHarmony, but we actually met on eHarmony as well. And so that's where it's kind of a fun story is, so we met on Yahoo through Yahoo Personals, and then we went out, but the algorithm messed us up because so you can put a zone in there and say, I want to meet someone within X amount of miles of where I live.
Okay.
You know, like I only want to meet someone 15 miles of where I live.
Yeah, I mean, look, I want to find the love of my life, but I sure as hell am not
willing
to drive more
yeah.
than 15 miles to find her.
Exactly. And that's exactly how I was. I was desperate, but I was also lazy.
Now, in my case, Carrie lived 3 floors down in the dormitory building that I lived in. I mean, if she had been more than a few flights down the stairs, I would have been like, forget this.
Yeah.
But I got you.
Yeah. And so we met for a date, and it was nice. It was great. But we realized, gosh, we are a lot further away than the computer says we are.
Uh-oh.
And we're like a good, it was in LA at the time. So, I mean, hour to 2 hours, depending on what time of day it was.
I was going to say, she could have been across the street in LA, and with traffic, it would have been at least a 30-minute haul.
And so both of us were like, hey, this is nice, but I'm looking for something a little bit closer. And then later got on eHarmony, and eHarmony made the exact same mistake, matched us up again. And so that's when we were like, well, maybe the internet's God are trying to tell us something.
Or maybe they're both using the wrong faulty information.
Yeah, whoever the programmer was the same guy.
No, but that's cool.
Yeah.
So you guys met. I know there's a lot of geography involved here. Take us through your journey across the map.
Sure. Well, for me, grew up here in Georgia, and then I got accepted to a conservatory school in New York, the American Musical and Dramatic Academy. So I lived in Manhattan for a while.
You were in New York. What time frame are we talking about?
I was there 96 to, I guess, 2001.
Okay.
I moved, because 2001 was 9/11. I moved right before 9/11.
Wow.
So.
Okay, so we missed each other up there by 8 years. Okay.
Yeah. They're so close.
All right. I mean, seriously, we were right there.
Yeah.
We were right there. Okay, so you went to New York, and then from New York to L.A.?
Bypassed through Florida. I was spent about a year to year and a half in Florida, and then moved out to L.A.
Okay, so and then y'all moved eventually.
And then
here to
eventually
Atlanta.
came back here to Georgia. Yeah.
Okay. Y'all have 3 children together.
We have 3 children together. Yeah.
And
no other children with any other person, as far as I'm aware.
As far as you're aware, right? Olivia, 11 years old. Adeline is 8. And Levi is 5.
Adeline turned 9 in November, and Levi turned 6 in December. So
obviously, I've had this
I filled out that questionnaire
in my inbox for quite a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Olivia turns 12 in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
so
you just had to do the trifecta, didn't you? Okay. And you're the friend that I knew in high school would be a great dad. I mean, it was pretty obvious, right? I mean, you love Disney. Let's just get that out there. In fact, do you still have the collection of VHS tapes? I remember in your bedroom you had like this large tower.
I did.
Right?
I
And
did.
it had VHS tapes of it. And as soon as a Disney movie would come out, Ricky would go and get it and add it to the collection.
Yeah, I did. I do not still have the VHS tapes anymore. I'm not one of those people. But I did upgrade. I went.
Okay.
When DVDs came out, I got the DVD and went
Are your
Blu-ray.
kids as big into Disney as you are?
One of them is. So the other one, it's the other 3. Now Levi, the youngest, he's still trying to figure out what he likes, but Adeline is definitely spit image of me. She likes everything that I like. We do a lot of stuff together. Olivia, my oldest, she's still trying to find her own. Mm-hmm. She's still trying to figure out.
She's got time.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, she's either 11 or 12.
Yeah, exactly.
So she's got some time. Okay. there was a time that you were going to Truett McConnell College in North Georgia, right?
There was a time
Because we visited you up there for a weekend to go camping / spelunking.
Oh, that's right. I forgot
seriously
about the spelunking part.
think that. So I'm not a fan of really tight spaces.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
And I'm sure that everybody's like that to one degree or another. I don't think I ever thought about that. I don't call it a fear, but I guess it's kind of developed into that over the last 30 years now. And I think it all started with going through those little caves with you in North Georgia. Those were some tight
I remember
squeezes.
that. Yes, and I remember the cave that we went in. It was like first you had to rappel down this like kind of.
This sounds like you're talking about somebody else, not me.
Yes,
but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking I want you to describe the whole thing, and as you're doing so, I'm going to try to imagine a time when my body could actually do these things.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, trust me, my body can't do that anymore either. But yeah, we would actually rappel down it was kind of a big, huge. I don't want to say cavern.
It's like a hole.
Yeah,
It was
a
just a
big
hole.
ditch.
I think it was rainy and cold too, if I remember.
Yes, but then you get down to the bottom of it, and you're like, "Oh, that was fun," and we're like, "We haven't even started yet. We're just in the mouth of the cave," and you're like, "What?"
No, I'm done.
And yes, it was a hole that you had to squeeze through.
And it wasn't like you didn't just walk into the cave. You army crawled into the cave. You're like, wait, obviously I'm not supposed to be going in here if I have to contort myself this way in order to get in here.
Yes. And I did this on more than one occasion. That's where I was comfortable bringing you along.
You're weird.
And yeah, I totally forgot about that. And so once you shimmied into the first few feet of that cave, then it was really cool because it opened up into there was gigantic building inside of this mountain. I mean, you stood up and you could see. Well, you couldn't see with your lights. With the flashlights, you could look around. But you had to go a few feet into the cave. I said shimmying through there to finally get to it.
Wait, there was a point in the cave where you could stand up completely?
Yeah.
I have blocked that out of my memory. Yeah. I just remember all of the really bad stuff.
I do remember it was that you, I think, did say, if someone breaks your leg, there's no way anybody's going to be able to get us.
See, there's a reason your mom loved me so much. Because I was the responsible one, if you'll recall. Had to look ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Your love has always been acting.
Yes.
And you've been involved in theatrical performances. You've been in TV shows that many people may recognize. How big are those royalty checks that you're getting from those TV shows?
They are incredibly large. No.
Tell me, what was the one, the recent one or one you talked about?
Well, the most recent one I got was...
Well, first tell us the shows that you were in, because...
there's not... You say shows with an S. I was in a show... and a show called Less Than Perfect on ABC.
I saw you on TV.
I was background guy. They did eventually. I did have a character name, but I was still background guy. I just happened to have a name, and I didn't get my spot in the credits until one episode. They actually had, and it wasn't even a line. I was singing. They had me sing. I was singing karaoke.
Yes.
Take on Me was the song.
Yes. Which is not easy to sing.
It's not an easy song.
Now I remember this.
Yeah.
So how big are those Less Than Perfect royalty checks?
Well, I did get one right before Christmas, actually, right around Thanksgiving. I did get one, and it was, I believe it was 8 cents.
Wow. Yeah. Did you cash it?
No, I did not cash it. I just, I framed it. I didn't frame it, but I did put it on my wall. It's actually on my wall.
You should frame it. That's awesome. I love that. So you can say that you are a paid Hollywood actor.
Yes, yeah.
And then then you just change the subject.
Yeah.
No follow-ups. No follow-ups.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one I'm talking about.
You've had other jobs besides
I have
acting
had
gigs?
other jobs. Well, yeah, I've had many jobs. Like most actors, you have
Yeah.
many jobs.
Universal Studios tour guide
did,
was one of them. That was the
yes.
Florida thing?
Yeah, no, that was in no, I was in LA at that
Okay.
for that one. Yeah, I actually that was one of the first jobs I got when I moved out there. I did some temp service, and then for the Universal Studios, you had to audition for it, and then you auditioned to be a studio tour guide. Then they went through a training. I want to say it was like 3-month long training. It was a long time. And then at the end of the training, you had to audition again. And so now, of course, they paid you through the training.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, there was like a good
and this
3-month
probably
process before
consisted
you
of-
got the job.
Right. Memorizing a
Yeah.
lot of stuff.
Yes.
Like today, if I put you on the spot, could you go in order on that little tour guide thing and all the facts and stuff?
Let's welcome to Universal Studios. Open in. No, I can't. I remember it's 415 acres is the
Okay.
studio lot, made up of the theme park and then the studios, front lot and back lot. And Carl Limley, the owner of Universal, bought this little farm, 415 acres. and
When do we
that's-
see the actors walking around? When?
Yeah, that's all I get. That's all you get. Yes. You start taking them in back studios, and you're like, what's really funny is when it would be there'd be certain movies where they wouldn't want you to talk about. They don't want, people taking pictures of, whatever sets. And so there would be times like War of the Worlds was the funniest one because this is a gigantic movie set where the plane has crashed into the neighborhood. All right. And you can't miss it. I mean, a blind person can see this set.
Okay.
But it was a top secret project and we're not allowed to talk about it. So people would be like, "Ooh, what is that plane from?" And you're like, "Look over here to your left. You see a pond right there. That was used." They're like, "No, but what about this plane?" That was like, "Over here, you see this."
That's got to be tough.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So, okay. Did they actually pay you to go to Disneyland?
Yes, actually. So, so as I said, they went through this huge auditioning process and stuff like that. Well, the studio tour guide, obviously the theme park season is during the summertime, and they don't want, they spend all this money and time training this tour guides, so they don't want you to go and find another job. And so they created kind of an internal temp service. And so that we could do on the off season and then come back during the summer and be a tour guide. So on the off season, I got to work in the merchandising department. And that temp job became a kind of a long-term temp job for me. And while I was there in the merchandising department, they did these, what they called benchmarking trips, which is basically a fancy word of saying we're going to go spy on to Disneyland and to Six Flags Magic Mountain. And so we would go to Disneyland.
Wow, was it tough times for Universal back then if you're spying on Six Flags? Come on. Huh, okay.
Yes.
That's cool.
Six Flags. Yeah.
So
yeah.
did you get to ride the rides then, or you just have to walk around?
Oh, we rode a couple rides. You couldn't ride every, because it wasn't obviously a day at the park.
Because would you come back to Universal and then they would download you and say, okay, so tell us what it was.
Yeah.
And you couldn't just sit there and go, well, let me tell you about Space Mountain. Oh yeah, and then there was this other stuff too.
That was actually that was kind of the trick to it, as well as the majority of Disney's merchandise stores are through the exits of the rides. And so it was a great excuse to go, well, I had to ride the Haunted Mansion in order to get to the Haunted Mansion store.
Hold on a second. You produced a theatrical released movie?
I did. So when we moved back to Georgia, I was worked for a TV station, Channel 57. Did that for a while. And during that time, I met this woman who had written this book that I just thought was really fascinating. It was based on a true story on her son. And I thought, hey, I could see this as a feature. And so then with talking with her, and one day she said, well, why don't you make it the feature? I was like, okay, sure, I'll do it. It was called Stand Your Ground. It was in theaters very briefly, but long enough to be able to say that it was a theatrical release.
Yeah. How was that experience producing a movie?
To be honest, it was a very bittersweet experience. Because first off, to go from acting to producing, producers are the unsung heroes, you know. And if anything goes wrong, it's your fault. And if anything goes right, it's they get the credit, you don't.
Background guy number 4
Yes.
would get the credit before you.
Yeah, exactly. My favorite part of the job was actually, I hated, first off, I hated raising money. That was the worst part.
Oh, yeah.
But my favorite part was, you know, obviously giving people their jobs. And I really, being someone struggling as an actor, I really was, you know, looking at trying to give people their breaks, you know, not just actors, but also, you know, wardrobe and everybody else. And so that was a really great experience, but there's just so many cogs in the machine. Eventually the project, on a good side, blew up bigger than what I was going to do. You know, I was going to make a small little independent thing or whatever. And so this studio came on board, Triple Horse Studios. We got them on board. And so they were able to really do a lot of stuff that, you know, made the movie something that I couldn't have. But once they were on board, I eventually was like, all right, I got the baby started, you know, you be the closer. And I kind of walked away, and I didn't see the project again till it was in theaters.
Wow. Stand Your Ground.
Yep.
You've also wrote and sold a screenplay? Where can what's that one?
Yes, I did. So same kind of situation was I met this guy who had a very fascinating story, and he had a book as well. Both Sides of the Fence was I think the name of the book. And he was basically this biker guy who became saved and then was hired to be an informant for the FBI. And so I wrote a screenplay for it and spent several months for doing it. And I want to say it was a Firm Film, Sony Pictures basically, bought it. So that was really kind of cool, very exciting. And then it just disappeared.
They didn't do anything with it?
No, they don't. And well, I don't know. There was
Would you have been paid more if they had?
No, because part of the reason it got stuck in production was they wanted to make it a big budget film, but everything is name power, you know. And so they attached another writer to it, and he started writing. But he didn't change that much to it. And then apparently it got stuck in production over who has the rights to it, who wrote the most, this writer, me, or the guy who wrote the book. And so now me and the other guy who wrote the book, we're just like, hey, just make the movie. You know, this is a great story to be told. And there was this big kind of up in arms argument over, you know, who gets the credit. And so never saw the light of day. Now studios do that all the time. Studios, you know, will buy, I mean, there's thousands of scripts, hundreds of thousands of scripts that are bought that never see the light of day. It's amazing. I mean, how much money Hollywood has to waste. So.
Yeah, right. Now, one of your hobbies, I guess, is, well, watching movies.
I do kind of. I also teach. I'm an adjunct professor at Toccoa Falls, teaching film, but I teach a film production to be specific. So from birth to finish. So how do you start the film? You know, how do you get that idea and then put that in the paper, the production side of it, the filming and completing of it. And so I think because of that, I end up loving, you know, I have a love of movies. And I think with film, my take is actually with entertainment, film, television, whatever it may be, there's this conundrum of chicken versus the egg on, does art imitate life or does life imitate art? There's so much stuff that everybody watches. And then you go, all right, is this influencing us or not? You know, the Marvel movies is a great example of that superhero movies have become really big because they're the epitome of, I think, escapism, especially Marvel movies, because they take place in the real world.
Right.
But they just happen to have these superheroes. And so we have this, ooh, I want to be like that kind of deal. You either want to be the superhero or you wish you'd be rescued like that. And so you have all these people that come to watch these movies, and I think at its core, that's why they're so big. I mean, even if you're not into comic book movies, people have seen at least one Marvel movie. Mm-hmm. But then, as I said, I could take the same coin and flip it and go, okay, how has Endgame that everybody saw, has it affected us in any way?
Has it?
I think so. Absolutely, I think so. The bulk of Endgame is about despair. You're trying to, here's a group of people who failed at what they were doing and trying to literally turn back time to do something. And I think that theme gravitated to a lot of people. But I also think there's a lot of people who realize, hey, time travel is not real. I can't fix what went wrong. And they get stuck in the despair. And so I think there are a lot of people who subconsciously that movie affected them. There's this guy who had this wonderful theory that the Oscar winner each year predicts what the world is going to be like. That again goes with this idea of, do we, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Are we influencing art, or is art influencing us? And he had this ongoing theory of, if you look at the Oscar winners of every year, that kind of predicted, if you look at the theme of each movie, that following year kind of copies that theme. And you have where you look at a lot of these, and I think the great one, first off, last year's Oscar winner was called Parasite. So that right away should say
should
that.
Have been a clue.
Yes. But then on top of it, the theme of that movie is class warfare. And
ta-da.
Exactly.
Here we are.
Yes.
So growing up, you were into comic books.
Yes, I was.
I mean, you were a huge Superman fan. I just remember that, right? And Batman and all that, right?
Yeah.
How have the movies translated? Are you a big fan of the movies, or are you disappointed in how these have been created? That's
very interesting because for the comic book geeks out there, I was a big DC fan, as you said, Superman and Batman and stuff like that. And I don't feel like those movies have translated very well.
I can't stand them.
But yet the Marvel on the flip side,
right?
Great movies. Marvel kind of, for the most part, kept control over their films, over their licensed characters, with the exception of in the beginning. So Marvel started fighting financially a while back, and they had sold the rights to a lot of their characters. And so Fox Studios was doing Spider-Man and Fantastic Four, and those just didn't do good. And now the DC comic characters, Batman, Superman, all that, were kind of doing the same thing. Warner Brothers bought DC, but they kind of bought them reluctantly. They bought them on the side that DC went and said, hey, we're struggling. Will you please buy us? And they said, okay, sure. So you had people who weren't necessarily fans of the comic books making these movies. So when Marvel came along with Iron Man, that was Marvel, writing it. Marvel was doing it. And so they were holding on to their properties, which is why, they kind of did much better job.
Right. Okay.
But I also find it ironic with DC that DC is all their films are very dark and broody and realistic, but you have characters named the Penguin and
Fair point.
And Gotham City is like
Aquaman.
It's not supposed to be dark and broody, it is a little bit as supposed to be colorful, at least.
Okay, yeah. So the last book you read was by Dr. James Dobson.
Well, now, granted, this was a long time ago.
Play along. The last book you read when you replied to this email a century ago was The Strong-Willed Child by Dr. James Dobson.
Yes.
Which of your children were you reading that for, or was it multiples? Now, they're going to hear this.
They are.
At some point in their life. So you can lie here, or you can just say, it's research purposes for a friend. So whatever you want to do here.
So I had a friend whose middle child was...
How close was this friend?
Really close.
Really close?
Yeah, we were really close.
So your name's Ricky, and this friend's name is Roderick.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. Let's just say that is Roderick. And his middle child... Adrenaline, we'll call her that.
Interesting name.
Yeah. No, you know what's really great with what's fun with kids is that they are all so different.
Right.
That it amazes me. I remember with my nephews and niece when I was growing up, is that it amazed me that you can have 3 kids who were all born to the same parents, who are all in the same environment, that nothing is different other than the order. They're all drastically different from one another.
Absolutely.
And yes, I had, so my first one, Olivia, it was her punishment growing up. Oh, of course, still growing up. She's only 12. But when she was little.
Or 11. I don't know.
Yeah. So she's something. I can't remember. You just give her a look, and that was punishment enough for her.
Huh.
You know, you would, and she would just.
Oh, that was mean, Ricky. I didn't care for that look.
I remember the first time I bopped Adeline, my middle child, I bopped her on the hand, to don't touch that kind of thing. And she seriously gave me this look of like, is that it?
Oh, it's on.
Yes. And it has been that way ever since.
Did the book help? It's been a while. Your friend, did it help your friend?
It did.
Did your friend report back?
Yes. And he said that it did help a little bit, that it did definitely give guidelines on how to do, you definitely was not, as all parents are, there is no overnight success. You try one tactic and you're like, oh man, this is awesome. And then the next day you do the same tactic and you did not get the same result.
Right. Do yourself a favor. Make sure that her name is Adrenaline.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll just
make
call
sure
her
she
Adrenaline.
doesn't hear this podcast till she's 18 or else she's going to know she's winning currently. Hey, more with Rick is going to come up here in just a moment. First, I want to talk to you about pain. It's no fun whatsoever. And the older you get, the more often you feel it. I feel it. And I found a solution. Dr. Monroe's pain cream. It helped me with some serious skin issues on my leg when I was recovering from hip surgery. My skin was so sensitive after that surgery. I could not touch it. Clothing could not touch it. I was in agony. And that's not even talking about the actual recovery from the surgery. This was a completely separate issue, and it was really complicating things. I tried Dr. Monroe's cream, and oh my gosh. I reached out to them and I said, hey, you guys want to sponsor? I would love to talk about your product and rave about it on my podcast. That is how the relationship started, by me being a customer first. I'm telling you, the products over there can help you as well. But maybe you want to give them a try, a risk-free try. That's totally understandable. How about $19.95 to try Dr. Monroe's pain cream? If it doesn't work for you the way it did for me, send it back. You're going to get your money back, okay? They like to tell us the story about Nancy, who had pain in her ankle from titanium screws. It made her miserable. She tried Dr. Monroe's pain cream, though, and immediately felt relief. You can get the same feeling that Nancy and I have been through, getting that pain out of your life. Give CBD a try. There's 0 THC, so you're not going to get high. You're going to get relief. If you still aren't sure that CBD is for you, you can try it risk-free. Visit drmonroescbd.com today. If you aren't able to write it down, the address is in the description of this podcast. Get the pain out of your life. That's drmonroescbd.com. You got your phone there.
Yes.
Open it up. Go to your Amazon app.
Okay.
And why don't you share with the class what's in your cart right now? Just out of curiosity.
All right, so in my cart, or I should say my list, because my cart stays empty because I usually do buy them pretty quickly.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Oh man, I tell you what,
I tell you, the Amazon bill comes and you're like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
I'm with you, man.
All right, so I've got an array of stuff here.
Okay. It is a family-friendly show.
It's lawnmower deck belt. lawnmower blades.
Are you having problems with lawnmowers too? Seriously, I tried to start mine when the season started, and the tire was flat. The tire that I'd gotten fixed specifically before the winter set in, so that I wouldn't have this issue, but it had gone flat again. So fix the tire, then it wouldn't crank. The battery that was less than a year old needed to be replaced. So it sounds like you're having some issues.
I think I replace my John Deere battery annually.
You got to take that in, man.
What's going on with my mower? I love my. Let me do a plug. I love my John Deere. It's awesome. I love it. But I bought the chute for it. And it worked. The first season I bought it, it worked, and I was like, "This is awesome." It's never worked since.
Wait a minute, the chute, so like the grass clippings would go into the basket thing?
Yeah. So it goes into the grass bags. Worked once. It's never worked since. And so I've always been like, is it my blades? Is it the belt? Is it this?
Maybe you put it on wrong. Do you take it off to empty it?
Well, you don't take the chute off. You take the bags out, but the chute still stays installed on it.
That's weird.
And it is,
I have
very bizarre.
Right. So I have a riding mower that's got all the issues, and a push mower, which, by the way, when you're recovering from hip surgery and the only lawnmower that you have is a push mower, oh, life is awesome. So I had the bag too, right? Uh-huh. And I filled it up like the first time I was mowing, and I emptied it out, and then I couldn't put it back on. And that was 9 years ago. And so it's still somewhere in the garage. And now I just I just mulch the yard. It works out.
I did one time. I was getting so frustrated with it. And finally I did, take it off and throw it down. And that was when it decided to start working. And... And so I have grass not shooting out to the side like normal lawnmowers. It's shooting up 3 feet in the air. And I'm going, I'm like,
literally, it sounds like...
And then as soon as I put the bag on, doesn't want to work.
Seriously, your yard work experience sounds identical to mine. You haven't tried to chop your fingers off with a hedge trimmer, have you?
No, but I have. I will admit that I did one day, chop off the extension cord to the hedge clippers. So,
okay, no, it's funny you mentioned that. I did that. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Boy, I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
So I did that. I cut the electrical cord, and I went and I got another one. And it's funny because I remember taking a picture of the electrical cord on the driveway, severed.
Yeah.
And I was like, when I'm done in the yard, I'm going to tweet this out, and I'm going to be like, I'm going to say something sarcastic about, at least it wasn't my fingers or something like that, right?
Yeah.
This is the backstory I don't think anyone's ever heard. So I plug in the new cord, and it starts to drift a little too close to the blades. And so without thinking, I'm reaching for this extension cord because I'm like, this ain't happening again. These things ain't cheap.
Yeah.
And I'm not even paying attention to these metal jaws of death. I just don't want the cord to get there. And I'm just reaching for the cord and completely oblivious to the other important element of this.
Probably a little bit more important element.
And the doctor said, I've never seen fingers this damaged that were still on. So, but they did a great job. I mean, you can barely tell today, right?
Yeah. Now that you say it, I can see the scars.
But I mean, the feeling is the issue.
Yeah.
I've.
Can you feel it? Can you do that finger? Do you have like the dark man issue?
No. It's almost.
Okay.
For a while, I did. It's come back to a large degree. Let's say that.
Okay.
But I can still just always feel it, even when I'm not holding something. It's just gross. I'm stupid. That's what you need to know. And so your mom was wrong.
Yeah.
That I'm the responsible one. No, I'm the dumb one.
Yeah.
It's an act, Mrs. Goins. So I asked the question, 5 possessions, what would they be? You say you're a minimalist, which I sincerely admire, because I don't know if did I live in the Great Depression in a previous life and just not know it, and I'm saving everything? I wouldn't say I'm a hoarder, but I definitely... Because here's my issue. This is why I'm not a hoarder, okay? Because I will save stuff that I do end up needing later.
Okay,
Ta-da,
good.
I was
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Look at me. I'm so glad I kept this spark plug for this lawnmower. The problem is I don't know where I left it. I know it's out here somewhere. So anyhow,
I've done that so many times.
And then you end up going to the store.
I go to the store,
and then the next day, you find the spark plug when you're not even looking for it. And you're like, I swear, I cannot win at this game called
And
life.
of course you go, now I put it someplace that I knew I would remember.
Thank you. Thank you. And then do you find yourself standing in the garage and just doing a 360-degree turn very slowly? Maybe it's over on this shelf. Maybe it's over here with this stuff. Yeah. Maybe I left it with the tool. Maybe it's, oh my gosh.
Here's something I do really weird, and I think I do it because I watch too much CSI, is that I will actually search for stuff with a flashlight. Like, the lights can be on. It's not dark. But I'm like using the spot of the flashlight as like a focal point. And I'll just like go, okay, where
do you think it's like a police helicopter? Like it's going to, all of a sudden, whatever you're looking for, a tool's going to run out from the shelf. Oh, crap, they found me.
Well, I did at Amazon. I did buy a flashlight that also turns into a black light. A UV light.
Oh, nice.
And so that actually works great if you got something that's a little neon colored. If you lose, because then jumps out at you.
I just don't know that I want a black light in my garage. Can't imagine what kind of issues.
Yeah, I try to remember that. There were people who lived here before me.
Okay, but if you're a minimalist and your wife is the exact opposite. Now that you're here in the office, laying on the couch. Would you like to talk about that clash point that you two share?
Oh, man. Yes.
Remember, just as I mentioned earlier, the father of adrenaline will listen to this podcast.
She won't. Yeah,
she's not going. No, she Michelle's not going to listen to this.
No, she might. Yeah, of course she will.
She won't tell you.
And
then she'll start. Start very passively aggressively saying, "Well, I'd really like to say, like you might say, honey, what do you want me to do with this newspaper? Are you done reading it?" Well, yeah, you could take it out, but I might need it. Does that bother you?
Yeah. Now she will make the same claim that you do, that she is not, she is not a hoarder, but she does have textbooks from school that she is not ever going to refer to,
But see, like, I don't know if this is in your case, but we've made so many moves. Like I just went through with Gert, we went, 1, 2, I don't even know, 8, 9, I have no idea. I'm not going to waste time counting. Probably because I can't count that high. But the point is, at some point, you get to one of those moves and you're like, nope, I haven't opened this textbook from Broadcasting 101 in 10 years out of college now. It's not making the next move.
Yeah.
So she hasn't gotten to that point yet?
This kind of dawned on me, too. That's why I don't have my Disney VHS anymore either. I totally remember why. Because I took them with me to New York. And then when I was moving from New York, I was like, it's going to cost me how much to ship these VHSs? Forget it. And they're probably in the storage room of that apartment building now. Because I totally left them behind. Yes.
I wish you had told me. I would have gone in like, oh, wait, I'm a hoarder.
Yeah.
I would have shown up there.
Yeah.
I would have been on the bus back to New Jersey. And showed up at our house and Carrie would be like, what's that? It was Ricky's VHS collection. We don't have room for that. But
oh yeah, my wife has bought VHSs from Goodwill before, and I'm like, honey, we don't even have a VCR. Why did you buy these?
Okay, well, I would like to remind everyone, I'm not a hoarder, but I may or may not have a VCR or two in the closet.
Okay, so here's how our marriage works with the hoarder versus minimalist thing.
Does your wife punch you the way mine punches me?
Yes, she is not a hoarder. I will say that she's not a hoarder.
Oh, look at the air quotes.
This is a podcast, yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry, but Michelle's not listening. Remember, so it doesn't matter.
So, legit true story. I took a bunch of stuff to Goodwill. Took books and some CDs and a bunch of stuff. I said I do that well. I'm a minimalist. If I haven't listened to it for a long time, okay, it's going.
And these were things that you brought into the marriage?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Not just but stuff I had since high school.
Okay.
Specifically, I remember a couple of DC Talk CDs and a Stephen Curtis Chapman CD. And that's important to the story because 3 days later, my wife comes home from Goodwill and she said, hey, I bought a whole bunch of stuff and I got these CDs that I think you would love. And I look and it's DC Talk, it's Stephen Curtis Chapman. I'm like, honey, you just bought back my stuff.
That is hilarious and sad at the same time.
Yes. So.
Oh, no. No. Did you take them back? What do you think about? Oh yeah, Keith. I want to be the guy who rolls up to Goodwill and says, "I demand my money back."
Yeah.
Have you already spent that money on charity? Oh no, that's funny. That's
Yes.
good stuff.
Yeah.
You're a big fan of barbecue. Don't forget to get to Texas. You may or may not know somebody who lives there.
Yes.
I've got just the place. I know where I'm taking you.
Okay.
But-
All right.
so-
Yes. I love barbecue.
When you get to Dallas, just say, "Hey, take me to that barbecue place that you love so much," and I'll take you there. Because I won't hesitate. I'll be like, "Oh yes, that's where we're going."
Okay. Now when I get to Dallas though, and this even happened last year when I did go, there is one place that I have to go.
You notice how he slipped that in there? Yeah, I went to Dallas. I didn't tell you.
I told you earlier, and I told you it was such a quick trip that I didn't bother telling anybody I was going.
I'm guilty too.
Yeah, I hear you tell your boss, "Hey, I went to Atlanta this weekend and saw a game and didn't tell anybody."
He's not bitter.
No, I'm
He's
not
just
at
saying.
all. No. No, there is a certain popular burger joint from the West Coast that Dallas has that I am addicted to, and so
Okay, what is it?
In-N-Out.
In-N-Out?
Yeah.
In-N-Out's great.
Yeah.
If you
yeah.
had said Whataburger, I would have slapped your face.
No,
Ugh.
no, In-N-Out. There. What's really funny is I've discovered In-N-Out that there is a legit following of that restaurant. So much so that there's one in California that is open 24 hours, and strategically, it's the one right next to the airport.
Perfect.
You know, so,
Perfect. No, In-N-Out is not only delicious, but cheap.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
affordable.
Yeah.
Whataburger is the most overrated. I can't take it when people say, "I got to get to Texas to try a Whataburger." Well, that's dumb.
Yeah.
Why don't you just go to McDonald's? It's better.
Yeah, there's one in Jacksonville, Florida, and I was like, "Ooh, they have a Whataburger. I got to try it out." And yeah, I was not that impressed, I'll be honest. I don't know if it was Whataburger or Jacksonville, but either way, it was not impressed.
If you could go back in time, you would like to either meet Charlie Chaplin or Alfred Hitchcock. Did Charlie Chaplin ever actually speak? Is that a thing? I mean, like, what would you talk about? Oh, okay.
He did. No, he did. In fact, yeah, his later movies, in fact, where he does talk, the Dictator, which was a spoof off of Hitler. He was playing Hitler, and he spoke in that.
Okay.
So yeah, and I do find him, both of them, I think are.
Well, Alfred
really cool.
Hitchcock. How was he in real life? I just know him from the end of movies, beginning of movies, stuff like that. You know.
I have heard that he was a jerk. Yeah. So,
Was he a freak?
No,
too?
no.
I mean, some of the stuff.
not so, and I say that coyly. No, I think, and this is my
Probably not compared to today's insanities.
Yes, yeah.
You know,
exactly.
maybe back then he was.
A lot of people in Hollywood are introverts.
Yeah.
And so you wouldn't think that, but I would, out of the stuff that I've read about him and the things I've seen of him, I would actually put him under that category. That he was a thinker, but he was an introvert, and I think that came across kind of jerkish to other people.
I
But
see.
I don't think he was on purpose. He just had a lot going on in his head.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, speaking of a lot going on in his head, you've battled depression.
Ooh, that was a great segue.
Well, thank you.
You are a professional.
Well, I mean, I have too. Doesn't it suck?
Yeah.
How do you overcome it?
I actually like to think of it as I haven't overcome it per se, in that sense of it's a daily thing for me.
Yeah.
And
I'm with you.
yeah, so I haven't overcome it. I'm just aware of I don't want to even say triggers, because you can just waking up can be a trigger. you know
what? Here, because I want you to tell us about your experience to the degree you want to, but I can go first if you'd like.
Sure.
I'm the same way. You never know what's going to trigger it.
Mm-hmm.
It could just be waking up. You just be like, I don't want to go to work today. It could be a song you hear.
Mm-hmm.
It could be something someone says that has nothing to do with anything that would be even remotely depressing, but it reminds you of something that really just sends you down a spiral. And I will say that one of the things that I try not to do when I get depressed is that's when I no social media for me. I don't want to read it. I don't want to participate in it. I don't want to tweet anything. I don't want to like anything. I don't want to see anything right now. And then you just kind of go into your own shell for however long you need to.
Yeah.
I guess the danger would probably come if you start having consecutive days like that.
Yeah.
Whereas, everyone's going to have a bad day. Everyone's going to be overwhelmed. Everyone's going to have to retreat at some point in some way, their own way. But thankfully, for the most part, I've never gotten in that. It doesn't help that I listen to very depressing music. I drink too much. I injure myself regularly. But I think it really becomes an issue when it becomes like a daily routine. That depression is just a part of your existence.
Yeah.
How about you? How do you manage it in your world?
No, I totally fully agree with you. My wonderful wife, she is actually a counselor. That is what her degree is in. And one thing that she has kind of said with me that I that you're kind of going on is it's okay to take a day. Just don't let it go beyond that. And that's where I said I don't think I'm healed from depression. I don't think I'm delivered from it. For me, it is, you take in those moments of, I use it as sort of a decompression moment of going, okay, what can I fix that might be triggered by it? And if I can't fix it, how can I embrace it? How can I, and this is not the end. This is just the next step. And in some ways, it's storytelling on that sense too. Is that every great story has its ups and downs. Any story where it's all up would actually be a really boring story. But the flip side is also true. Any story that is all down is going to be a boring story as well. And so you realize that life is hills and valleys. And all right, I'm in a valley. Just recognize that's what it is, that you are in a temporary valley. And, my, one of my favorite kind of sayings, or I heard a long time ago of, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And that's the big thing that you always have to remind yourself, that as long as you have breath, everything is temporary. And so take hold of that this is not the end. Going back to art in general, some of the best artwork has come from the hardest of times. Some of the best artists have been people who struggled mentally, and if they didn't, they wouldn't have good art. I embrace things by looking at it and going, what do I have? And recognizing that everything is temporary. I'm very blessed with a wonderful marriage, and I'm very blessed with 3 kids that I absolutely love. But one thing that I recognize when I start to get down or you get stuck in a rut is I'm not going to have those kids forever. They're going to grow up. They're going to leave. Do I want to really spend my limited time I have with them being down? Let me embrace what is going on right now, because the world moves pretty fast, and one day you're going to look around and you're going to miss it. And if you don't stop to smell the flowers, what is... I'm trying to quote
something about
Ferris
roses.
Bueller. Yeah. No. You say roses. I'm trying to quote Ferris Bueller.
My bad. Yeah. So you mentioned suicide in there. I think that's a great way to put it. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Yeah. I have a personal experience with that in multiple degrees that I don't have a problem talking about it, because this is another thing on how to deal with depression. Is I think the best way to deal with depression is to talk to people. And when you start to recognize I'm not the only one. When we have those down days, we usually get stuck in that day becomes a week and that week becomes a month when we start thinking that we're the only one in the boat. And so the more we talk about it, we start recognizing, oh, there's other people. So I don't have a problem talking about my experience in life. And first off, right from a young age, No, I had suicidal thoughts all the time growing up. I was a fat kid who got picked on all the time. I was a white kid in a predominant black neighborhood. I got picked on a lot and hated it. And so I had suicidal thoughts, a lot growing up. I actually did even attempt a few times. But then, the life-changing moment of my life, I was, junior in high school? I just turned 16.
Yeah, and I didn't get into this earlier, but I know for a fact that when I was in Nebraska, that's when the story you're going to possibly tell us here happened. And I just felt terrible that I was, across the country and wasn't there.
Yeah. So my dad committed suicide. And one of the hardest parts, I think, in that moment, and even still a little bit, later, is he didn't visibly look like someone who was depressed. It was a genuine shock. And I was the one who, found him, came home from work, and, there was a note on the door that said, Ricky, call 911 and don't go down in the basement. And one thing that was hard in that moment was I had to grow up real quick because my mom was really dependent on my dad. There was a strong relationship that the two of them had, and that moment for her to be abandoned, since then, I would say that I have struggled with having suicidal thoughts, but I've never, ever thought of attempting it. Never, because now I also saw the other side. Going back to that phrase. That's what I want to ask
you. Yeah. Does you having gone through that motivate you to not pursue it in a real tangible sense because of your own children?
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
knowing what you went through.
Yeah. Yeah. And even prior to kids, but especially now with kids, it's like, just recognizing whatever he was going through, it was nothing that couldn't have been solved. As I said, it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Right.
And having kids and looking at it and going, I don't want to put them through the same pain that I went through. The one thing I do love about social media, about Facebook, is actually the birthday greetings. Because you don't recognize how many people you truly touch, how many people do know you and do care about you. And I've got people who, man, I care about them, and if they died, it'd break my heart, but I've only met them, once or twice.
Right.
And so in those moments of when you're low, you don't think that anybody cares about you. Even if let's say you're single and not married, you don't realize how many people out there that do really care about you. I think, as terrible as the world may be, there is humanity is still there. There is positivity to
I'm glad
humanity.
you think so. Good to hear. No, that's well. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, there's good in most people.
No, I'm not sure. Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, I can't go there with you, Anne Frank. Okay, hold on. Let me ask you about your most embarrassing moment. I'm supposed to ask you about temping at a luggage company while you lived in Manhattan. I mean, did you have more you wanted to say? I was just trying to liven it up a little bit.
No.
Okay.
Yes. Anytime you can get away from death is actually good.
Right. And then, of course,
yes.
in order to accomplish that, we take our story to New York City.
Yes. Well, I want to hear Mr. Professional. I want to hear you segue to this.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
You didn't do so good on that one.
Didn't do so good.
No, so I need to work on that segue.
Thank you. So tell me about the working for a temp agency.
Yes,
a luggage
yeah. So
company.
as I said, with actors, most of the time you are doing something other than acting.
Right.
And so yes, I was temping. I gotten really good at it. I had a nice personality. People liked me. So plenty of time, the temp agency would just call and say, "Hey, got this, place they are interested in you. Why don't you go on in?" I'd say yes. And got to a bad habit of I didn't even bother they just give me the address and tell me who my contact is, I wouldn't even know what I'm going there to do. I wouldn't even know what the company was.
Oh my.
For instance, I go to this company, and they said they're moving from one office to another. And so they just want, and this was really funny on New York having money to blow. They just want a body at the desk while they're moving stuff so that anybody who may come through the office, they don't see an empty desk.
Right. They're like that interval between places.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And they said, and if the phone rings, all you have to do is just transfer it to to this number and we'll, take care of it.
Seems pretty simple.
Yes. Yeah. Very
easy
simple.
money.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So I sit there and it's great. And then the phone rings and I realize I don't even know where I'm at. I don't even know how do I answer the phone? Well, okay. Normally I'm a professional. Normally you answer, hello, name a company. This is so-and-so.
Right.
Or how can I help you? Because I was like, so I'm just going to skip that. I am so-and-so. Just name a company and how can I help you? But I'm looking around going, what is the name of the company? Where am I? And I look up and I see the sign, on the hallway right there. Safe to assume this is the company I'm working for. Hello, this is Louis Vuitton. How can I help you? And they said, yes, I'd like to, there would be a pause, but then they said, can you transfer me to so-and-so? And I said, yeah, no problem. So I do that. So did that for a week. Hello, thank you for calling Louis Vuitton. How can I help you? I need to talk to so-and-so. Transfer them. For a week. I'm talking to my mom on the phone that Friday. And she said, how'd your week go in New York? Because we talked regularly every Friday. And I said, it was great. I was working at some luggage company. Because I saw the suitcases and stuff like that. So yeah, I was working at a luggage company and they're moving. And they're like, what's the name of the company? And I said, Louis Vuitton. And she said, excuse me? I said, Louis Vuitton. She said, no, you mean Louis Vuitton? And I was like, oh yeah, I guess that's it. And she said, the best part about that story though, is that I was there for a week. So there were people calling and going, I think I've been pronouncing it wrong because the headquarters says Louis Vuitton.
Okay, so if you're listening right now and someone in your life refers to Louis Vuitton as Louis Vuitton, you'll know that they called Ricky Goins during that week back in.
Yes.
Oh my!
Yeah.
That's awesome.
If you called the luggage, if you called a certain luggage company in the late '90s,
Tell us about an embarrassing moment for Michelle when she accidentally threw you a 29th birthday party.
No, she did not throw me a 29th birthday party.
Right.
That was the problem.
Right.
Yeah, we were dating. She's big into surprises, and so she wanted to throw me a surprise birthday party. And to her credit, she went all out. She rented a kind of room at a restaurant and had all my friends come.
Wow, thanks for the phone call, Michelle.
Yeah. All my LA friends, because that's all she knew.
Okay.
She put banners up and everything, but it was all happy 30th, 30th birthday. And I think she even had some over the hill stuff. And, but the big theme was 30. I walk in and giant balloons 30 on the table. And I'm like, thank you. I'm 29. And of course, no one is going to believe it because every single one of them said the exact same thing. Yeah, of course. That's what you say when you're turning 30.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha. Yeah, you're 29. I'm like, no, I really am. And not only that, I called my mom and was like, Mom, please tell everybody how old I am right now. And yeah. So.
That is something else. That's good stuff. Tell us the story of you proposing.
So one of our first dates, a very artsy thing to do, especially for actors in LA, was a silent movie theater in LA. It was actually one of the few standing. I don't think it was one of the early ones of LA, but it was really cool. It was a silent movie theater. They obviously still had the same chairs because they were so uncomfortable. But they had an organist who played along with the movie. And so it was really,
That's
really cool. And so I got the idea of like, hey, to ask her to marry her is I made a Chaplin-esque movie. I was dressed up as Chaplin and I proposed through the movie. And so I rented out the theater house and I filled it up with all my friends and family. You were somewhere and a long far away. So I would have called you.
Wait, hold on. First of all, it's a very awesome idea. How cool is this? This is really And now as I'm telling the story, I'm stalling because I'm doing math in my head. Did I live in the same town as Ricky when this happened? Where were you guys at? LA?
We were in LA. Yeah.
You're lucky.
It was
Continue.
Los Angeles. In fact, the theater, I think, if I'm correct, it was legit Los Angeles. It wasn't Sherman Oaks or Burbank or something like that. It was actually LA. And so I filled up the theater with all of our friends and family. And then we got there, quote unquote, we got there a little late for it. So when we got into the theater, there was already a movie showing and the lights were already down. So she couldn't see that everybody.
That's what I was wondering. Cool.
Family and friends. And they showed a Buster Keaton movie and then they showed my movie. And then she was like, what's going on? She's like, she had said something. I remember doing the movie like, that doesn't look like this was made in the 1930s.
Oh, come on. Just watch
she said
the
like
flick.
the wardrobe or something was off.
Right.
and then she said when it went up that she saw, because I go, will you marry me or whatever? And it's my face. I'm looking right at the camera. And she's like, oh, someone's getting engaged. And I'm like, you don't even recognize that it's me?
Wow.
And then the lights come up.
Oh.
And then I bring
Did
her
you have
up
to say,
front.
look, that's
Yes.
me.
Yeah.
I was proposing to you.
When the lights came up, I pulled her and she was like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, yeah.
At least she didn't have to go to the bathroom or go get some, Junior Mints or something in the middle of it, because then she would have recognized everybody. She's like, wait a minute.
Yes,
and then she'd come back to the seat, and you will never believe all these people I know are here.
That's actually what's funny. So I did have a friend of mine. I did have a friend of mine record it, and what's really funny is that when I'm down on my knee asking her, she's looking around the audience, and that's when she realizes that they're all people we know.
Yeah.
Because first she was embarrassed that I was bringing her up in front of a crowded theater, and so then she's like, and starts naming
no
everybody.
pressure.
Andrew, what are you doing here?
No pressure, Michelle.
Yeah.
We're just all going to be scarred for life if
Yes.
you say no. Wait a minute. How long was the movie before yours?
Oh, it was just they were short.
Okay, I was just making sure,
Yeah,
man. Because
yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
and then we played this other movie, and then mine came
so
up.
First we watched Lord of the Rings, and
she's like, I gotta go. And you're like, no, you stand right here. Hold it.
But I ordered a large Coke. I can't hold it.
Okay. Have your thoughts changed on, because I remember this email was sent out a decade ago. When was the last time you tried something new for the first time? And you said you tried sushi just the week prior to this email being sent to you.
That must have been something I just said. I don't know.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I remember the first time, it must have been a fancy sushi. Maybe that was it.
Okay.
Because the first time I tried sushi was actually, I was taking Michelle out on a date, and she is totally California. I mean, she was born and raised in California. And so I thought it'd be fun to take her to, there was a sushi restaurant, Universal City Walk, that did the little boat thing. So they put the sushi things on a boat and go out. And so we did that, and she loved it. She thought it was nice, but I hated it. First off, I didn't think it was that good. But secondly, we walked out. We were going to go to the movies. And right as we walk up to the sushi and we're about to go to the movies, I said, hold on. Before I go to the movie theater, I got to go over here to Burger King and get me a hamburger because I'm starving. It's like, if I'm going to spend that much money on a food place, I want to be full when I walk out.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I spent between the two of us, I spent like $60 there.
The thought was to eat raw fish on a moving boat?
Yes.
We're playing. I'm never touching
and then
sushi.
And then I'm still hungry afterwards.
Yeah, okay,
it's like,
Because I was going to ask you, man, I will never try. I'm not even going to try sushi.
Yeah. Now I'm the week. I do what's called the California roll, which I think is rice, avocado, and shrimp or crab or something like that. Because I'm actually not a fish person. Yeah. I don't like fish. And so
cook it.
Yeah.
What is the issue?
It's not that hard.
Do we not have access to cooking instruments? All right. Well, anyhow, Ricky, I appreciate you making time today. Ricky Goins or Rick or Roderick. I can't. I don't know which one to do. So you get all three.
Yep.
Where can people find you on the social media?
Sure, you can find me at
Facebook.com/, here we go, Roderick.
Yeah. It's
RODRICK.Goins, Goins.
Yeah. My Twitter, my Facebook.
Kind of the same thing.
Yeah. At Roderick Goins.
RODRICK _ I can't enough.
Yeah. Now my
Too many
hand.
letters.
Now my handle on Twitter is this thing on. It's been that for several years because I was really mad that no one replies to me or anything. So I'm
Maybe
like,
you're
is
being
this
shadow
on?
banned.
I think I
Somebody
might
has
be.
it in for you.
I think they do because me not
Might be
I'm
Louis
such a
Futon.
I'm such a controversial person. I want you to know that.
Right. All right, brother. Rick Goins, thanks so much for making time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, thanks. It's fun.
Wait, there was a pause there. It was fun, or it was it was fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pick what.
Can I just say selfishly, it was a blast catching up with Ricky. I'm so glad you were there for the conversation as well. Such a great guy. That conversation and so many others are available when you go over to atthemikeshow.com, and you sharing that site with your friends, it would be so greatly appreciated. Also appreciated is the fact that you're here listening and that you have supported this show through that GoFundMe link that I tweeted out weeks ago. You guys are so awesome. Thank you for helping, and thank you for continuing to support our sponsors continuously. APRcoffee.com and drmonroescbd.com. Two places I really hope that you will, if nothing else, just go there and check out their stuff. That's all I'm asking. I love both of those companies. Hey, next week, just in time for Independence Day weekend, is a conversation with my friend Laura Black. It's a fun conversation with a freedom-loving American who has lived in a country that is much different than ours. That's for sure. She really appreciates America. She shares some of those experiences and lots of laughs. That's a week from now, right here on At the Mic. Until then, I hope life treats you right. I hope that your week ahead is great. So please now go be free. And thank you for listening to At the Mic.
This has been At the Mic with Keith, an independent podcast production. Head to atthemikeshow.com for archived episodes, sponsor information, and ways to connect.